with, I love that word metanoia, that's a new way of seeing or turning around. I think repentance is actually of about turning yourself around, you
Right.
know, and we all have to stay ready to turn ourselves around all the time, really. I don't think repentance is one great big act that we do sometime or another. We're always repenting because if we're paying attention to ourselves, because there's always something to turn yourself around from. You know, I mean, you know, we're not about to rob any banks or anything, but it's the way we think and behave that trips us up, I think, more than
Mm-hmm.
anything. So others, the baptismal covenant, living the truth of that, of course, is something that those words are great and amazing, but living them is a completely different story. I mean, reading them and hearing what they say and repeating them is it's all very nice. But then on a daily basis, in our daily uh, walk through life, how does that get lived out? Is always a good question to be asking ourselves. Yeah, blame and shame, those are two things that we could just leave alone, right? Because
Right.
blame and shame don't motivate us. What motivates us is compassion and somebody believing in us and somebody kind of willing to hold our hands as we move along. So we made a big to do in this diocese about our work not being about blame and shame, because when people start being blamed and shamed, they retreat. We find a way to defend ourselves. We shut down, we quit listening, we quit engaging, and we don't need that. We need people to stay. As a matter of fact, I wrote a friend this morning and said I was doing this work today, and I said, would you please pray that I will listen well and keep my heart in the conversation. And so for me, the question is always, how do we keep our hearts in the conversation so that we're not, the head is being modulated by, you know, some other energy, because head and heart energy not the same, you know. So how do we do that? How do we, and part of the first way we do it is having the intention to do it, you know, not to set out trying to be superior. You know, I probably spent more time than most people I'm in the room with thinking about race. I mean, 50 years of doing this work and 35 years of higher education teaching and writing and imagining this stuff. I've thought about this stuff. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it. I get up in the mornings thinking about it. And I come into the room, hopefully trying to be humble and be a student, to listen, to learn, to share, to say what I have to say, but to hear where other people are. And more important than anything, to listen to the spirit, to listen to the spirit. Absolutely. You know, one of my primary commitments for the Center for Racial Healing is that very thing. We are in a community, even though we are a national and international center, it would be a complete pity for us to have no impact in the community where we're physically located. You know, we can say, yeah, we're hosting our sisters in Honduras for a conference, but then our sisters down the street don't even know we exist. And that just doesn't make any sense. And that happens too much of the time, that we sit in communities and the community we are surrounded by never is impacted by our presence. And you're so right. We need to find ways to change that. And I just think that it's so critical to have that kind of spirit of hospitality that spills out into the neighborhood that we happen to be living in, so people can benefit from our presence. Usually the folks that show up in our life that give us the most angst are folks that are mirroring some part of ourselves that we need to work on, that we didn't choose to work on it yet. And the real clue is if you keep running across those same kind of people. So if you had that experience with somebody and you finally get rid of them, but then 2 weeks later you run into somebody who just like that person you just got rid of, and you're trying to think, how come I keep running into this same kind of person? Because you didn't learn the lesson yet. So I like to say to the Lord, could you please at least help me get the names of the classes right that you got me in? Because I'm probably failing them, but at least I'll know what I'm failing. And then when the next time it comes up, I'll say, oh yeah, when I was in that class last time, I was really bad at blah, blah, blah. So let me try to do a little bit better. Because life on this earth is, Caroline Meeks says, it's earth school. We're in school. We're here to learn. We're here to learn stuff. And if we approach it that way, it helps you a lot, because you can be a little more curious and a little more accepting of stuff that comes to you, because you know you got a lesson to learn. And I don't like some of my lessons. I don't want those lessons. I want to pick my lessons, but I don't get to do that. I get to take the classes that come and acknowledge that I'm probably failing them. And at least I know that I failed. I failed a generosity class, or I failed a hospitality class, but it'll come back. I mean, the good news is you can fail it, but you get another chance. And you get several more chances.